Well, good evening. My name is Carolyn Nelson-Kavajecz, and I am the director of Sterling Silver Studio. On behalf of the Superior Council for the Arts and Sterling Silver Studio, I welcome you to tonight's event. It is an honor to have been asked by the Superior Council for the Arts to host this event, and I'm excited to be able to share the story of Sterling Silver Studio with you. I hope that it provides inspiration and starts a creative conversation. When I was talking to my daughter about this earlier and we were trying to decide exactly what we were going to talk about or what we were going to say, she said to me, "Well, Mom, this is starting to sound really rehearsed. Just talk from your heart. Tell this story." And I thought, wow, that's really good advice coming from a fourth grader. So I decided to take her advice and we're just going to wing it. And we also decided, rather than do something super planned, like having a PowerPoint presentation, which was our initial intention, we decided to use live humans in this presentation. So it's live, and we'll just see how it goes. Telling the story of Sterling Silver Studio is a very personal story for me. Sterling Silver Studio is 26 years old this year, which makes Sterling Silver one of the oldest arts-based businesses in Superior. This organization started nearly by accident, well, actually, totally by accident. This really wasn't what we intended to do from the beginning. Growing up in the 1970s and 80s, I took baton twirling lessons here in Superior at the university, and it gave me a lot of great opportunities, such as the ability to perform at UWS football games and in homecoming parades and the 4th of July parade, Christmas City of the North parade, and all sorts of other community events. That was really the first exposure that I had to the backside of community events, and that was what really sparked my interest in community development. My dream growing up was to become a high school majorette once I reached Superior High School. And then I really wanted to attend a university where I could be a featured twirler and lead the marching band. But by the time I reached 10th grade, I found out that the Spartan twirlers had been discontinued and that this was no longer a possibility for me. So rather than just decide, well, this is something that I'm not going to be able to do, I decided to create my own opportunity. And fortunately for us, I had a very good friend at the time whose parents were heavily involved in the YMCA. And so I pitched the idea to them about wanting to start a twirling program here in Superior. And luckily, they were willing to listen to my idea, and they believed in my vision. And so they allowed me to start a twirling program at the YMCA. And that is really how Sterling Silver got its start. My intention when I graduated from high school definitely was not to continue to teach. What I really wanted to do was attend a larger university and have the opportunity to twirl for a marching band, but I also wanted to study mass communications and journalism so that I could move away and become a famous talk show host. Now, I know that might sound somewhat unrealistic, but the truth is that this was the era of Oprah Winfrey and Sally Jesse Raphael and Montel Williams and all of these other individuals who were taking the opportunity to work with everyday, ordinary people and putting them in front of television cameras and giving them the opportunity to tell their story and share their ideas with people across the country. And I saw this opening people's minds and inspiring interesting conversations and opening people's ideas to other perspectives and other opportunities, and I really wanted to be a part of that movement. But by the time I graduated from high school, Sterling Silver had already grown to the size where I did not want to turn my back on all of these students that we had. So I decided to stay here in Superior and attend our local university and continue teaching Sterling Silver. By the time I was in my second year of college, I was teaching at the university, and I was also teaching at Superior High School, as well as a couple of elementary schools here in Superior. And then I was also teaching at a couple of schools in Duluth. So basically, I was going to school every day, all day, and then I was teaching 7 days a week at night in different locations. I was still living at home with my parents at the time, and I remember coming home one day, and my mom was hanging Christmas lights, and I said, "Mom, I have an idea. I'm going to take a leave of absence from school, and I'm going to open my own studio. And she looked at me and said, well, there's an idea. And she didn't really tell me that it was a good idea, but she didn't tell me that it was a bad idea either. But I knew what she meant. But I also knew that she knew that when I set my mind to something, I was going to do it regardless of what anybody told me. So that December, I took a leave of absence from school, and by February, I was opening the doors to my very first storefront location, which we called Sterling Silver Studio. I remember the day like it was yesterday, driving down Tower Avenue and seeing that Sterling Silver Studio sign on the storefront of this building. And all of a sudden, I was completely terrified. I thought to myself, what did I just do? I have absolutely no idea how to run a business, but there's no turning back now. So I decided to just buckle my seatbelt and enjoy the ride. Within a year, we grew out of that space, and we relocated Sterling Silver Studio about 5 blocks north on Tower Avenue to a much larger location. It was at that time that my sister Carrie had graduated from high school, and she had decided that she wanted to get more involved in Sterling Silver Studio with me. She started studying performance theater at the University of Wisconsin-Superior, and she studied dance at the University of Minnesota Duluth. In addition to her collegiate studies, she also traveled across the country and had the opportunity to take lessons with different choreographers and different dance teachers and learn from them. We also decided that we really wanted to focus on expanding our dance program, and we knew that we needed help. We needed to reach out to someone who shared our vision. So what I did was I started to look at who my biggest competitors were as a business. And rather than being threatened by them, or rather than being worried about sharing my ideas with them, I picked up the telephone and I called my biggest competitor, who was a young lady by the name of Michelle Gustafson, and she owned One Step Up Dance Academy in Duluth. When she answered the phone, I introduced myself, and I told her what my idea was and what my vision was, and within an hour, we became incredibly close friends. The interesting thing about Michelle is that she brought an entirely new perspective to Sterling Silver. She was fluent in Tahitian and Hawaiian dance. She had also studied with the world-famous Al Gilbert, and she was fluent in Shiketi ballet. She really brought forth a new perspective to Sterling Silver and gave us new things to share with our students. It was also around that time that Michelle and I decided that we wanted to take our experience as being competitors and how we transform our relationship into becoming allies and working together as a team and share that with our students. So we created an organization called the Ultimate Talent Connection. The Ultimate Talent Connection is a dance and twirling competition, but what makes it different from all of the other dance and twirling competitions out there is that the focus of the Ultimate Talent Connection isn't solely on competition. It's about making connections with your competitors. Whether you're a performer and a student and you're at the competition, we want kids and encourage kids to look at other performers and to make connections with them and learn from one another and realize that they can be friends with the people that they're competing against. We also have created a network for teachers and other studio owners so that they can share ideas and build their performing arts programs alongside other teachers, so that they can continue to expand their performing arts programming that they offer to their students. After we had been in this location for about 5 years, I received a phone call one day with devastating news that the building that we were in had been sold and that we needed to relocate our studio within 3 months. And this was devastating news to me because I finally felt like we had gotten our feet firmly planted on the ground. Our name was gaining recognition. I had went back to school thinking that I would have the opportunity to pursue some of these other ideas that I had, and I really didn't know what we were going to do. But just as quickly as I had received that phone call, I received another phone call that there was a person on the other end of the line who told me that they realized that we were looking for a new space, and ironically enough, that person was going to have a storefront open directly across the street from where I was located within the next week. So I called up all of my teenagers, and I said, guess what, guys, we're gonna have a slumber party at the studio. And the next week, we had a sleepover, and during that sleepover, we packed up all of our belongings in one night, and in the middle of the night, we moved our entire studio from one location across Tower Avenue to the next. and that became our home for the next 11 years. Throughout that time, as our program continued to evolve, our mission continued to evolve, and one of the things that we really wanted to focus on was the concept of intertwining performing arts education for young people with the concept of community involvement. We also needed to hire new teachers because we had this ever-growing program. But the great thing about that at the time was that our students that had started with us as little girls were growing up and were in high school and college now. And we were able to hire students from within who already shared our vision and who were already invested in our program. So they really helped us move Sterling Silver in a brand new direction. This also allowed me as an individual to go out and to pursue some of the other things and the other ideas that I wanted to pursue. Somehow I felt like I needed to be doing something bigger and something that would make more of an impact on the community than just teaching baton twirling lessons. So I took about 1.5 years off of teaching, and I did that with the help of my sister and all of the other individuals that were working at our studio at the time. And I went out seeking that bigger and better thing. But the thing that I realized was that no matter what I did, I was always drawn back to Sterling Silver, and I couldn't exactly put my finger on it, and I couldn't tell you exactly why I felt that I needed to be here. But I just knew that Sterling Silver needed to be a part of our community's future, and it needed to be a part of my future. So I came back to Sterling Silver, and we continued to work on our mission of involving performing arts education for young people with community involvement. It was around that same time that my sister and I, along with all of the other teachers in our studio, who by that time had become like second family members to me, started having a conversation about the concept of relocating our studio. By that time, we had a waiting list that was almost 1 year long for students to get into our facility, and we really needed to move to a bigger location that could accommodate all of the classes that we wanted to offer, and where we could experiment with some of the ideas that we had to continue to build this program. In 2009, we moved our studio from that location to the Mariner Mall, where our studio is located today. Having this larger facility allowed us the opportunity to experiment with programming and offer all of the programming that we really wanted to offer to our community. One day, a couple of my students who were high school freshmen at the time approached me, and they told me that they desperately wanted to start a twirling program at Superior High School. And I knew and understood firsthand what their ambitions were and why they wanted to do it. And I knew that they needed my help in order to do so. So as a team, we worked together and we developed the Spartan Twirling program, which is still in effect today. One of the cool things about this program, though, is that by allowing these kids the opportunity to twirl at their high school, their twirling career didn't end there. Since then, the kids that have went through that Spartan Twirler program have went on to twirl at their universities and represent their universities with their college marching bands. In addition to having the opportunity to twirl on the field with their university marching bands, it's given them the opportunity to travel throughout the United States. And it's also given them the opportunity to compete at a whole new level, where now we have kids that have College Miss Majorette of Wisconsin and Minnesota titles, and they also hold national titles. And hopefully this opportunity has provided a doorway to all sorts of things that they can pursue in their adult lives. This whole concept inspired my son, who was in 4th grade at the time, to ask me if he thought that we could start a twirling program at his school. And when he first asked me, I kind of laughed because my son attends this very small school here in Superior, and I thought, well, you never know. Go ahead, ask your principal, I told him, and if your principal says that we can do this, I'll coach the program. So the next day, my son went and proposed this idea to his school principal, and his principal said, sure, we can do this if your mom's going to coach it. So excitedly, my son came home and he told me, yes, we can do this, Mr. Carr, so that we can start a Panther Twirler program. And the interesting thing about that Panther Twirler program is that there are only about 200 kids in the entire school, and 51 of them are Panther Twirlers, meaning we have 25% of the school's population in our twirling program. And we've taken that program even one step further by creating a middle school exploratory curriculum that teaches the kids not only about how to become performing artists, but it encompasses the idea that they can use the performing arts as a springboard to build other organizations. We've taught them about building the Panther Twirler organization, and we've also taught them about the importance of stakeholders and what that means to have stakeholders invested in their program. We want the program to be self-sufficient, so we've started to teach the kids about fundraising opportunities, and we wanted the kids to generate revenue not only for their own program, but in an effort to give back to their school. So their fundraising efforts this year, they've decided to take 50% of the revenue that they generate and contribute it to their program to help their program continue to grow. And the other 50% they're giving back to the school in the hopes that they will be able to contribute to a purchase of a smartboard for their middle school. Another organization that is developed as a result of Sterling Silver Studio is the Performing Arts Student Scholarship Foundation. About 15 years ago, we recognized that there was a need in our community for families who wanted their kids to be involved in the performing arts, but they simply did not have the financial means to do so. As teachers, we're always willing to take kids into our classes, regardless of their ability to pay. But the truth is that Sterling Silver Studio is a very small business, and we simply do not have the finances that are necessary for kids to participate in this program when it comes to equipment and costuming and travel and some of the other related expenses. So the PASS Foundation generates revenue to help families and kids that are less fortunate so that they can also have the opportunity to participate in the performing arts and then follow through into the community development aspect of our program. In addition to helping families in need, the PASS Foundation also contributes funds to kids that have made significant achievements in the performing arts in our community, and they also provide a college scholarship program for kids who graduate through our program as seniors in high school. This gives them a financial base to start their college careers. The Ultimate Talent Connection is an organization that I'm incredibly proud of. In 2017, the Ultimate Talent Connection will be celebrating their 20th anniversary. An organization that we developed as a springboard to the Ultimate Talent Connection is one that we call Artists as Leaders of Positive Social Change. We wanted to take the competition aspect even one step further. And rather than teaching kids simply about the concept of competing in a friendly environment, we wanted to teach them that as dancers and twirlers and performing artists, that they have a very creative perspective. And sometimes when you have a creative perspective, especially as a kid, it can make you feel like you're really different than anybody else around you. And we want them to understand that that's not necessarily a bad thing. Really, that's okay. As a matter of fact, it's more than okay. It's fantastic. Because people that have a creative perspective tend to have the ability to develop ideas and solutions to problems that other people may not. So what we do through Artists as Leaders of Positive Social Change is encourage kids to find a problem in their community and then develop a solution to that problem. And then we take it one step further by encouraging them to implement that solution and really see what they can do as creative kids to solve social change issues that they find in their community. We also give them a platform to speak about their project in a public arena by giving them the floor during the intermission of our competitions, which are usually attended by 2,000 or 3,000 people at a time. And they can talk about what they've done in their community. And then those kids who really have something that have really implemented their idea, we provide on behalf of Artists as Leaders of Positive Social Change, the Ultimate Talent Connection, and Sterling Silver Studio, a scholarship to those kids so that they have some revenue so that they can continue to work on their social change project in their communities. This past year, we started to plan Sterling Silver Studio's 25th anniversary show. And the one thing that was very interesting to me and the most prevalent to me was the fact that I kept turning around and looking back and thinking, I can't believe that we've been doing this for 25 years already. It went so fast. The great thing, or my favorite part of Sterling Silver, is the fact that this organization has really played a role in developing relationships that are going to last a lifetime. This year, we hired a new instructor who is only 18 years old, yet she's been with Sterling Silver for 16 years. We have another instructor who is 22 years old, who's been with us for 17 years. And we have yet another instructor who's 29, who's been with us for 22 years. And then, of course, we have folks that have been with us from the very beginning. The other cool thing about Sterling Silver that makes me very proud is when we have little girls running through our lobby in between classes, and they're pointing at pictures on the wall of their moms when their moms were twirling with us. And I really believe that there's no greater compliment than that someone could give us than to bring their own children back here into this program and allow their children to experience what they experienced as a child with Sterling Silver. So I hope that by telling this story of Sterling Silver, that it will inspire other artists in our community to think about what they're passionate about and what they really want to do with their craft, and inspire people to not be afraid to take a chance, and don't be afraid of failure, because the only real failure is not trying to fulfill your artistic endeavors. I hope this inspires thought, and I certainly hope it inspires creative conversation. Thank you.